Hey everyone, welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and I am super excited that Carolina, hey Carolina,
Hey.
and Jenny, hey Jenny,
Hey, Becky.
are joining me for this episode. This is a little different episode for us, and I'm kind of excited about it.
I'm excited.
So this actually is going to end up being kind of two parts, but we're not going to come back, like it won't be just next week. We're going to come back probably early November and let you know what we thought of what comes out of this episode. So before we get started, Carolina, you had originally asked that we talk about force versus close proximity,
Yes.
but we ended up talking about it on our last episode.
Ah,
Like, I went ridiculously hard on it.
I haven't listened to it yet, but I have a feeling you probably
should
went
know.
hard where I was gonna go with it because I've been super frustrated. I'm gonna just
No, say
this
your
so I can
piece.
say my
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
Because authors are labeling things as forced proximity when they are not forced proximity. They're close proximity.
Yeah. So,
Like,
my handle that I'm giving her, because it was on TikTok again this week, a really big romance book TikToker who is paid often by authors. She was like, did a little TikTok thing where she does her little dance and was like, 5 of my top forced proximity romances. Every single one was close proximity. Every single one.
I've been seeing it in authors when they do like the squiggle trope graphics where, you have the book in the middle and then the little arrows that say all the little tropes. And I'm going, yeah, workplace is not forced proximity. Workplace is close proximity.
Yeah.
Like, like just because they share a house doesn't mean it's forced proximity.
No.
It's close proximity. Unless they're trapped there because of weather and they can't get out, then that's forced proximity. Like you've got to like.
So we're using the handle.
Hostage situation.
Right, it's not a hostage. So we're using the handle. Close proximity, you have a choice. You might not like the repercussions from your choice. Close choice. You can leave or quit or move.
Well, and the other thing too is that some of these graphics I know and I'm not going to name names, but one of the authors, I know it's a PR agency who's doing some of these graphics too. Like, PR agencies, please don't verify. Like, you should be knowing about these books, right? Somebody on your team should read the books and say, hey, author, guess what? Let's talk about this because this is not forced proximity. This is close.
Yeah. Nope, I did a TikTok on it. You can listen to last week's episode, but I do have another hot topic that we have to talk about.
I've said my piece now. I feel better.
Okay, I'm glad. That's what we're here for, right? Feel free to vent. But we have to talk about something else because, again,
buckle up, people, because I just saw what it is.
People are making me crazy. Okay, I'm going to be really clear. The romance genre is old. It has been around for a very long time. We are not redefining romance. None of us are doing anything new or unusual or unique because in order to label your book as romance, it absolutely has to have, at minimum, a happily for now, otherwise known as HFN. But ultimately, it really needs an HEA, happily ever after. And any author that is like, I tell you what, I get posts all the time from people, like an author will be like, I'm going to redefine the romance genre. No, you're fucking not. No, you're not. You're writing a book that is maybe a thriller with romantic elements, and you want romance money. Let's be honest what you're writing, and stop trying to misguide people. Because what happened was this week, some trolls, because that's what they are, were over on TikTok and in Twitter, bringing up again that romance doesn't have to have an HEA, and that Nicholas Sparks writes romance.
As Becky throws up in her mouth.
Oh my God, this is 2 episodes in a row where I have mentioned him because I mentioned him freaking
My
last
name.
episode. Okay, so I'm gonna read this so that I don't just start spewing words, okay? The romance genre, as defined by the Romance Writers of America, 2 basic elements comprise. See, I'm so upset about this that I had to say his name.
Would you like me to read it for
Yes,
you?
please read it.
Yes.
Please read it.
2 basic elements comprise every romance novel: a central love story and an emotionally satisfying and optimistic ending. A central love story, they define as the main plot centers around individuals falling in love and struggling to make the relationship work. A writer can include many subplots as they want, as long as the love story is the main focus of the novel. They define an emotionally satisfying, optimistic ending as, in a romance, the lovers who risk and struggle for each other and their relationship are rewarded with emotional justice and unconditional love. Romance novels may have any tone or style, be set in any place or time, and have varying levels of sensuality, ranging from sweet to extremely hot. These settings and distinctions of plot create specific subgenres within romance fiction.
Okay, so here's the thing. Nicholas Sparks defines his books as the love story genre. He does not guarantee an HEA or an HFN in any of his books. On his own website, in the Q&A section, he is very clear to state he does not write romance. His books are placed in that category by his publisher because they want romance money. But he does not identify as a romance author. He previously held a position as a English professor or professor of creative writing at Stanford and is notorious for tearing down the romance genre. And he actually went head to head against Jennifer Cruzy, which she's a freaking queen, people. And you do not go against her, but he basically said her books were crap. And she's like, you're an asshole. So the difference between genre fiction, women's fiction, though, these can have romantic elements, but the main focus of the book is not going to be the relationship between just the 2 characters. Instead, it might be about the mystery or the journey or self-discovery. An example, Janet Ivanovich's Stephanie Plum series is women's fiction with romantic elements and suspense. Because she never actually gets an HEA. So it cannot be romance. So, okay. Feel a little better. I got that off my chest. I will not be mentioning the devil next week.
That's good, because I was like, that would be 3 times in a row.
And then it's like freaking Beetlejuice, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's a lot.
Do you know how much I would die if his publisher sent me an email and was like, we'd like to put this book in front of you? I'd rather vomit. Could you imagine?
Yeah, no.
Please pitch me his books. I dare someone.
Then you'd be like, you obviously have not listened to the podcast.
Right.
Thank you.
You might want to read the room, sister. Nobody wants that. So that is not.
Are you sure you want me to do this? Are you sure?
He should bring some lube when he comes. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh Lord. All right, Becky's crossed the line.
So on this episode of Buzzing About Romance, we are talking about tropes we struggle with, the ease in which we stay and read the books we know that we will like versus expanding our repertoires. And so as you all know, like there are certain tropes that I shy away from, that I just don't love them, right? Or different subgenres that I don't read a ton of. I've been, I'm picky about others. And so I feel like this is something we should kind of talk about, how we sometimes stay in our lane and aren't great about venturing out, right?
Yes, very much so.
And I think that comes in a couple different ways.
What do you mean?
Um, in the sense of one, and I'm gonna, pull from some of the tropes or character types, because we also have character archetypes here
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well in our lists. Um, there's one, I love sports romance, right? And when I um look at it, I tend to read a lot of baseball and hockey and football. But then I know that there's other sports out there that I just don't read a lot. And it's like, okay, where do I look? Are there, I know there are books out there, I just really haven't found them. So one of my categories is based on that, right? So it's in that sense, it's just more awareness. Or I would think there's like another element of it on my list is I'm just not as familiar with mafia as everybody else. I haven't ventured into that area. And I also know that mafia has a very wide breadth of like darkness.
Yeah.
There's a level of darkness. And so I also know that for me, I won't, not that I won't, I don't necessarily want the dark, like black, you know, I want a little bit more on the gray side. If we're looking at a color spectrum, right? Like, so,
Fair.
it's like, how do you, if you're not familiar with that trope or subgenre, where do you start?
Right.
Like, how do you do it? And then I say there's like a third element to this, because again, I'm looking at my list myself, and okay, you know what? There are alcohol is one of mine. I find that I either love them or I hate them. And so it makes it really hard for me to say, okay, I want to go and read this, because I don't ever have middle ground on it. Like,
Yeah. It's very clearly defined. It's either a love or hate.
or hate.
There's no indifference.
Right.
And I think one of the things that's challenging, like you said, where to start, like, especially if you're new into it. Like, I don't read paranormal, but I do like monsters. But it's different. I'm reading the crazy, outlandish monsters. I'm not reading, shifters and paranormal. And I struggle with, like, fantasy as far as, like, and so somebody once described it to me that we all kind of place ourselves as the heroine in the book, right? So if you can see yourself in that situation, then there's like a comfort in reading that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you can identify with characteristics of the heroine, then it's going to be easier to connect to the book, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm not going to meet a bear shifter next week. Like, it's not happening.
You never know.
I'm not writing a
Ohio is
freaking
crazy.
dragon. Well, okay, true. True. I'm not writing a dragon. So I struggle sometimes with what's outside real. Like, I mean, I'm not going to marry a billionaire either, but would I like to? Yes, yes, I would. Um, Jenny, why do you think that
But I
it's?
think,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to
Yeah.
add something in here, and then we can talk about it more when we get to the paranormal. But I think what we can also talk about is, Becky asked on her list for paranormal book recs, and there's certain things like hearing her perspective, what her hesitation is for it, is interesting, because there's things that I love about it and I love about a shifter that I don't think she's taking into consideration and connecting with.
Yeah, probably not. But again, I don't know where to start.
Yeah, and
I,
that's part of it too. So,
you can say, oh, read book one in this series. Okay, what do I need to know going in? But again, so for many of us, reading is our entertainment. It's our enjoyment. I'm not a
yeah,
huge TV person. Um, I'm not a huge movie person. So, podcasts and books are pretty much what you get for me. Um, so it's really easy just to stay in my lane. And I know, and I'm not a blurb reader, so it's covers and titles that sell me on things. So, it's easy. It it's scary sometimes to venture out because I don't want to waste what
Huh.
time I have,
Like
reading
bad
something I don't
books.
like. Why do you
But you're
think
also but you're also not afraid to DNF. So
no.
of all of the people of the contributors, like I'm like, Becky, you're the most like set up to be able to try something and say, you know what, okay, I tried it, it didn't work. Like, I'm gonna move on.
Yeah. Jenny, why do you think we stay in our zone of comfort?
Well, I think you guys have covered it pretty well. Like we stick with what we know, right? Like this works for me. Like I'm gonna read something else by either this author or like authors adjacent to this author, same trope. Like very often I look through my Goodreads and I'm like, oh, I read a lot of like fake relationships.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we know what works for us and we want we want the happy feeling, right?
Right. Well,
So
and part of doing this episode is so Amanda keeps a wiki for us for the podcast. And if you look, we do have certain authors, lanes, and tropes that we stay in. And one of my goals going into 2024, as we start the next, this next year of podcasting that we've started now, is to expand and to try more new to us authors, new to us
Mhm.
subgenres. Um, and I think our community is diverse enough that the book recs are there. We just haven't always asked for them.
Yeah.
So
And I think there's also a great joy in like finding new authors. And then I get so much satisfaction of finding a new author that I like and then just going down the rabbit hole of a series or their backlist because I will just devour it. And
I have pure joy. Here's my joy in all of this. When I know somebody is a little pickier about things. So recently, and I'm sure it's going to come up later, I know Jenny doesn't like certain books, right? Like she has certain things that are kind of red flags for her and she doesn't care for in her reading. And over the last couple weeks, really the most of the summer, I've been like, Jenny, you should read this book. Jenny, you should try this book. The joy that I feel when somebody recommends a book that I recommend a book to somebody and they come back and they're
mm-hmm.
like, "Yeah, you were right. I loved that." Or like, "Oh my god, yes." Cuz like Jen Ellen is one of like she's tough on books. Like she doesn't love
right.
everything she reads and and I respect that about her and when I recommend a book to her and she comes back and she's like, that's fabulous. When do we get the next book?" It's like, "Yay."
Yes.
It's like, it's like any recommendation. Like you recommend an a restaurant or you recommend a cocktail or something and people like it also deepens the connection between your relationship as well because it provides more common ground.
So what do you
Right. Like I wouldn't recommend the same books for you that I would for Becky, like under the same tropes, because I know what you tend to like. So
Right.
they're gonna be just a little bit different. And I did cross-reference Goodreads.
did you?
I was like, yes.
Look at
I was
you
like
with your librarian
I
research.
tried to. It's funny because for Becky, I'm like, nope. I know what Becky's read a little bit like more, and there was this some like on some I'm like, has Jenny read this one? I hope her Goodreads is up to date because like I was trying to cross reference,
right.
and I'm like, I think so. I'm gonna go with
Yep.
it.
I did not, so you guys have probably read all of these. um, okay, so what are some of the things, just like roadblocks that kind of hold us back from taking that venture? So, like for me, for paranormal, it's not knowing like what the lore is. Like, I'm, you know, I
That's fair. Like magic seems to work different in
right.
different realms. See,
So,
like I'm like, I don't know what the
so
like
it's
terminology
intimidating,
is.
right? It's intimidating to me. So that's a roadblock for me going into paranormal. Um, what are some roadblocks like because like where to start can sometimes be a piece too.
I think for one of them, a big one in like mafia for me is that there's potentially a lot of content warnings and triggers.
Yeah.
And there's just a different spectrum, especially in that one, where it could get really dark or not. Like it's mafia light, or mafia dark. I don't know how else to describe it. So that's a roadblock, because there's an intimidation factor that I don't. And I know we had a whole episode on content and trigger warnings where mafia doesn't have some of the same ones, because it's like there's I feel like there's a little bit of a mentality in mafia, like, just expect it, just expect dark stuff.
Right.
And
There's going to be violence on the page. There's
there
going to
is
be
going to
guns.
be violence, but there's certain violence that I can say, you know what, this is the story and this is the world, and I can suspend my disbelief. And then there's other parts of or types of violence that I'm like, yeah, no, I cannot.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that's fair.
so that's a roadblock, because I don't want to put myself in a position as a reader to then, because then I also need, and I think this happened with, was it Leah and I did some stuff, like, I then have to get a resolution for a certain character that has happened that I like, because then I carry it.
Right.
So then I have to read a little bit more, and then that opens me up to it. So that's a roadblock for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I know for like mafia romance, a lot of times they're trilogies. And if you are someone that needs resolution and needs to know what happens in the end, you're not going to get that just from one book. So it can
Right.
be 3 books, and then you're still like, what the fuck did I just read? And I'm still not okay.
Right. Well, and I don't want to push out, because some people were like, just don't read mafia, period. And I don't want to I, I don't want to go there, because I know that there's probably a certain, like, set of authors that I would really love, and it would be a shame to not read those stories. So it's that contradiction where then I really need to rely on recommendations from the community and from my fellow readers and my friends to help guide me into that, to
Yeah.
then say, versus just saying, like, don't read
And I don't want
don't
to
read
ever
it.
be like, no, never. You know, we're
Right.
asked a lot of times, like, why don't you do more paranormal or fantasy? And my answer is always, well, I'm not well versed in it, but it's something that's on my list. Like, I want to get more versed in it. But I never say never. You know, like, I'm never gonna read paranormal, guys, because I can't believe in it. Um, I don't own a freaking dragon, so I can't. You know, I'm never gonna do that because, again, I think that you do yourself a disservice to say I'm never gonna read that, because there's a book I made Jenny read just over this weekend, and it was totally outside her box, like absolutely outside her box, and she read it.
And I liked it.
She liked it because of the way it was written. But if I had just told her, hey, here's this book, it's Primal Kink, you'd have been like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, I would not have picked that book up ever on my own.
No. But I knew that there were elements within that story that would work really well for what Jenny likes. And again, I think that's something that we are all very spoiled with in this community,
Yes.
that we're all really good at kind of knowing, you know, and even as the community grows, which we are growing, we're learning, you know, like, if it is batshit angsty, we are giving it to Gretchen because sister loves it, you know. If it's a daddy, it's going to Jen Ellen because she loves it. So I think that, you know, that's something that really is a benefit of being part of this community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we did for this episode is kind of in effort to branch out our reading. We each came up with 4 tropes that we struggled to connect with or were not sure where to start with. And the other 2 are going to give book suggestions that fit into that trope. So the way we're going to do it is, I figured we'll just do like, we'll just start with the top of each of ours, like number one. We'll do anyway. Follow along; you'll catch on quickly.
I think we should also explain why we picked this.
Okay. Yeah, I think
so
that's
like
yeah.
Yeah,
so the
Right.
readers know like where we're coming from on it.
yeah,
Because I mean, I've already been through some of mine, but like I have different reasons for asking for these recommendations for each of these
yeah.
tropes archetypes.
Okay, Jenny, first up for you is, you said you wanted some secret baby, but not baby on the doorstep Rex.
Right.
So why is this a struggle trope for you?
Okay, so guys specified like older baby, like most likely potty trained or older. Because what has happened that dad does not know that this child exists? Like, I really need some strong justification for how you could not get in contact with baby daddy.
Okay.
Or like he needs to be, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's
Apparently
fair.
he's gonna be like some kind of like, I don't, assassin turned Samaritan.
Okay. So, Carolina, I'm going to ask you, is this a trope you like?
Um, it's not one I don't like.
Okay.
It's not, I don't think I like necessarily seek it out.
It's a trope I love. It is a trope I love. So, anyway,
Well, there you go.
I'll just tell you, it's a trope I love. Like, I went through it and I had more for this, like more Rex for this one than I did any other.
I have like one rec, so let me do my one rec.
Do your one rec.
And then Becky can do her like.
Oh, I'm just only gonna give her one or
list of
two, but
recs.
yeah. Go ahead. What is your one rec?
I don't want her to take my one rec. I don't think she would, but I just don't want to. My one rec is Just One Dare by Carly Phillips. So she, and I want to say her name is Aurora. I don't, something, it starts with an A. Anyways, it's one of those, like for her, it was an unexpected pregnancy, and at the time she was down on her luck, and in Carly Phillips' world, in this whole Dare world, there's a lot of different connections, and she has a lot of life going on. So then when they reconnect, there's also like, oh, it's you.
Yeah.
Like,
Layers to it.
yeah, there's a couple different layers to it.
Okay, so I am gonna just give you two, Jenny. Just two. First off, have you read A Lie for a Lie by Helena Hunting?
Yes, it's one of my favorites.
It's a secret baby. Like, I'm pretty sure I saw that on your Goodreads,
Is
and
that
I'm like,
the first one? Is that the
Okay,
first one in the
but she-
series?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, but as a baby, and she really tries
He's almost
to
a
get in
year.
contact
He's almost.
with him.
I'm just saying. I thought that was funny because I was like, I'm fairly certain Jenny's
Yeah,
already read that one.
Yes, that's my favorite
Okay.
in that series.
So my first rec is Dirty Secret by Emma Hart. It is book one in her Burke Brothers series. It's a 5-book series of rock stars. They are high school sweethearts. She ends up pregnant, but he is leaving to go on he just signed a record deal and is going on tour. She tries to tell him, but family and paparazzi make it very hard. So she just leaves the community because they live on coastal North Carolina. She leaves the community for like a year and a half and then comes back. He's returned back home after this first tour and finds out that he's a daddy. And it's a second chance romance. So that's the thing too. Everyone's like, oh, I don't like Secret Baby. But you like second chance, and most secret babies are second chance romances.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one I'll give you is Can't Help Falling in Love by Erica Kelly. So this is a one-night stand in Vegas. And never connect again until he's a professional snowboarder and comes into her small town, because there's a like training facility that he's training at, and the little girl's like 4 or 5. So anyway, those are some of those for you. Okay, Carolina, your first one up is Mafia, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we've covered why Mafia is on my
I don't like
list.
Mafia.
Well, not that I don't like it. It's just I don't know where to start.
Start. That's fair. Um, Jenny, do you have a Mafia rec
Yes.
for Carolina?
The Corrupted Empire series by Ava Harrison. There's 5 books, but they can be read as standalone, so you could like pick and choose. But I know you like to read in order, so I would probably just suggest, yeah, beginning the series and kind of going from there. And she's more in that gray area, like the guys are doing some illegal stuff, but they have good hearts, and there's a little bit of violence on page, but nothing like, I don't know, like nobody's getting tortured.
No one's being tortured.
Oh, right.
I
Hold on. I wanted, funny enough, I think I have a couple of those books on my Audible that I've purchased like in a sale or something on
There we go.
Audible.
That's awesome. Um, so the first one I'm going to recommend to you is Nola Nights by Rena Morgan. These are in Hoopla. These are Russian mafia. There's It's more like an action adventure movie than a dark mafia movie. It's not John Wick. It's like no dogs die. Book one is a single mom, and he pretty much is just like, yeah, you're gonna live with me. You can be my house manager, but really we're gonna be together. But as with any Rena Morgan book, very fierce heroines. She is not like weeping in the corner. And then before I go back to Jenny, if she has the next one, I will say Callum by Calla Riley. So this one is really great because she is kidnapped. So I know that forced proximity is not your favorite. She is
Forced
kidnapped,
proximity. I love forced proximity.
but you don't do kidnapping, right?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so this is a good kidnapping start with. She's
Just
kidnapped.
kidnapping.
She's kidnapped on accident by his underlings and held. When he finds out, he rescues her and takes her back to his house. And she decides to stay. She's kind of a hippie free spirit. Like, she sages his house. The mafia,
That's
head
probably a
guy.
good call.
She sages his house and buys him crystals to bring him calm and peace. But he's kind of like, it would be a darker gray. It's not completely dark, but it's a little darker. So if you start with the Ava Harrison or the Rena Morgans, which are a little gray, and then you want to try the next thing that's just a little bit darker, Callum by Calla Riley was really, really good. Jenny, do you have another one?
I did not. There were a couple. I'd only had one.
That's fine. Okay, so for me, first up, we're going to go with an archetype. The cinnamon roll hero. I just feel like they're beta heroes. They're so just I just don't feel like they have enough backbone. And sometimes they're just like kind of walked all over by their heroines. And I like a little man with a little bit more gumption. Anyway, Jenny, what do you got?
I have The Nerd and the Neighbor. It's Oak Creek Book 1 by Lainey Davis. He is an astronaut that life has not gone his way. Like, things are spiraling out of control. And she is trying to like kind of start over after like her life is also spiraling out of control, and they are neighbors. One of the really funny parts is he reads like peer-reviewed journal article about the best way to perform oral sex, and needs to test that out.
Okay. Okay. Carolina, what do you have for cinnamon roll?
One of them is Nice Guys Still Finish by Harlow James. This is book 5 in the Ladies Who Brunch series. So this character, his name's Jeffrey, and you meet him throughout the whole series, and he's kind of that like comic relief person who just can't like get out of his own way sometimes. But he just has kind of that like it's he's also a little bit of the golden retriever kind of feel to him, and just will do anything and has to approve a lot because his heroine's like resistant to any sort of relationship
Interesting.
whatsoever.
Jenny, do you have another one for that?
I did not.
Okay. Carolina, do you have another one for cinnamon roll?
Yeah, so he's kind of on the edge to cinnamon roll. In the respects of it's the book's Wrong Side of the Tracks by Jessica Prince. Because he works for this whole like pretty much all the heroes in this series work for like the same security firm.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the heroine, like he does every like little thing like to just prove and give her support and show her that he cares. And she's raising her siblings, like 3 or 4 siblings.
Okay.
And some are pretty young, and he steps up to it. Like that doesn't scare him, even though she tries to push him away.
Okay,
So
that sounds like right up my alley, actually. So, okay, Jenny, we're next up with you and cowboys. So, what is it with cowboys, sister?
Okay, so I think this is similar to your PNR. Like, I can never see no. I don't like animals. I don't like outside.
I don't like outside. How do you friend with me when you're here? I make
Okay.
you live outside.
I don't want to touch the outside. Like, I like my husband likes to tell my kids I like the ideal of water. Like, I want to be by the water. I want to see the water, maybe hear the water, but I'm not touching the water.
Oh my god. So you have the same feels like cowboys. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I am not touching. You want me to what? There's a horse there. Did you like? No. No.
which is hilarious because I know where you grew up and you have family like in Putnam County, and
Yes.
they have
Maybe
questionable
that's part of
relationships with
maybe that's
livestock.
part of it too. Like, I knew too many people growing up that lived that life.
So Carolina, do you have a cowboy romance you think that isn't very outside-ish?
Oh, okay. So now that we have this context, oh my god. Hold on. I gotta adjust my recommendation for
Okay,
a
I'll
second.
make a recommendation for you for cowboy. I think that Make Me Dream by Marie Johnston. It's an accidental pregnancy, siblings best friend romance, but it's more farming than it is cowboy. They drive pickup trucks. They don't do anything to horses. But it's emotional. It's small town. The family. I really like Marie Johnson. That was a rec from Leah. She encouraged us to read it. And the book's really, really good. I do recommend Marie Johnson. It has a little bit more suburban cowboy.
Okay. I can probably handle that.
Did you adjust, Carolina?
I did. Hold on. Okay. So you're still gonna get a little bit of like the basic cowboy, because I can't do like a full rec without like a
I
cowboy.
understand.
But I am going to recommend well, first let me preface this with I would say the Bennett Boys series and the Tannen Boys series by Lauren Landish are some like outstanding cowboys, and each of the books are like a little different like the characters are different. Sometimes you get cowboys and like they all kind of feel the same throughout the series. Like these have clear personalities in each book. That being said, like and it's a great family series. So if people love a family series, like you can dive into this one a lot. But that being said, I am recommending book 2 in the Tannen Boys series. It's called Rough Edge, and he is a cowboy. He works on his family's farm, but works, like she owns her like own mechanic shop, and she on the side secretly helps build race cars.
Nice.
And so it's got like there's a part of the story that does happen on the family farm and the family ranch, but there's a significant part of this that happens outside of that. So you get like cowboy light.
Yes.
Well, but that makes me think of cowboy wise. Don't you think that like For the Love of Whiskey by Melissa Foster,
There's a lot of outside in that.
is there a lot of,
I had that on my list. They take
but
the
I
evening
think
walks. They do the horse therapy. There
it's
is a
true.
lot of outside. I would recommend, like,
But the
when we talk
emotion in
about
that
cowboys,
book,
the emotion's great. But if she doesn't like the
yeah.
outside,
I did put it on my TBR the last time you guys were talking about it.
it's a fantastic book. It's probably now my top cowboy recommendation. But there is a lot of quintessential cowboy
but it's
scenes
not
and
like
outside scenes.
rodeo. Like it's not heavy
No,
on the cowboy nature or the cowboy shtick.
it's not heavy on.
He rides a motorcycle. What aren't those, like the Iron Horse or something like that?
Yeah, it has a balance, but there is a lot of outside elements. So,
Okay.
which is why I had to pivot.
Look at you, Jenny. Making us pivot.
Yep.
Okay, next up is for Carolina, the archetype of the alpha hole.
So for me, the alpha hole is a love-hate. Like I have ones that I'm like, no, I really love the way an author does this, and other ones where like our contributors love the alpha hole, and I was like, yeah, no, did not like him. I did not leave like end this book liking the character, so no thank you.
I think that's fair. Jenny, what do you have for an alpha hole?
Well, like my first 2 picks, I did cross-reference, and she had them on her Goodreads, and they were both 5 stars. So I was like,
So what were those?
Yeah, what were those?
A very bossy, or a very merry boss. The Christmas, or
By Lori
a
Keeling.
very bossy Christmas. Yes,
yeah.
yes. What's the other one? I cannot remember the other one, but they were both like 5 stars, and I was like, so she's definitely got a type of alpha hole she likes.
Yeah, because I either love them or hate them.
Right. So I tried to get like something close to that type of feel.
Okay.
So Nevermore Bookstore, it's Townsend Harbor, book 1. Kerrigan Barn and Cynthia St. Aubin. This is a newer series, like book 3 comes out soon, but this is book 1, and she's a bookstore owner. He is like a retired military guy that then did side work that was probably not the best. But he like calls for shipments of books each week, and he's just like, he is anti-person to the core.
Okay.
And there's also a great disability rep and mental health rep in that.
So one of my recommendations for you is Where Waves Break by Julia Wolf. So it's part of her Seasons Change series. It's the last book. There is some daddy and praise kink in it. But the reason I think that he's an alpha hole, so he's absolutely an alpha hole. He is a bit of a jerk. He has a reason. Like, he's not just an asshole to be an asshole. He has a reason. And a lot of it comes down to, like, success was almost, like, that almost in his hands, those almost moments. And everything just doesn't work in his favor. And so he's, just, he's not just an asshole to her. He's pretty much a jerk to everybody in the room. But it's a single dad romance, nanny. So you've got close proximity and they meet on a vacation. So I would recommend that one. And then also Before We Fall by Aurora Rose Reynolds. It kicks off her new family series. And pretty much all of Aurora Rose Reynolds' heroes are alpha holes, but they're gooey centers for their heroines. So they might be a jerk to everybody else in the room, but squishy centers, and they always, in her books, the guys fall first. So if you like that guy falls first, she calls it the boom. Like, they experience this moment of clarity that, like, ooh, I love her. And they are often the pursuers, but they're awful alpha holes. Like, they're kind of jerks to everybody else in the room. Jenny, do you have any others alpha holes for Carolina?
The Rebound. It's Fox Family Book 2 by Mary Frame. Oliver Nichols and Piper Fox are the characters, and Oliver is like, he's your kind of stereotypical CEO, has like made a lot of enemies to get to where he is and misunderstood. So he just kind of doesn't socialize because why bother?
Okay. So my next one on my list is PNR. And we already talked about why I struggle with it. So Jenny, go first. What do you got in PNR?
So I definitely like called a consultation in for this one.
Who did you consult with?
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
I was like, I need a book for Becky. Like,
smart move.
yes. Yes. I figured she would know way better than I would. So she recommended Mercenaries and Magic by Lisa Thorne. It is a 4-book series. All 4 books are out. But these are like darker, and it like markets itself as like ambiguously gray characters, found family dynamics, steamy, dark humor. I'm like, that sounds like Becky.
These are like my books. Are these her Vampire Mafia books?
Well, it like there's just, it says there's magic. They're like trying to get rid of a cult.
Okay. I think I can handle this. What do you have, Carolina, for PNR?
Okay, so I went more with the shifters. And what I enjoy about the shifters is there's usually a protection element of it. Like the hero is usually the shifter, and there's this quality of like, part of my job is to protect my mate. Then the other element that I love about shifters is that it's the, like, once it's like this fated mate. Like, once you meet, like, you have one person that you meet with and you're like with them forever.
Okay.
So I love that part of it. So I'm recommending the Shifted Love series by Fiona Davenport. They're novellas.
Yeah.
So I think there's like 8 books in them. But the other part that I really love about this series in particular when it comes to shifters, because you'll find a lot of like bear shifters and wolf shifters, like you have that, but there's also a tiger and a falcon, and in this community comes together. And a lot of shifters, like when you talk about like bears or wolves, they're all like in their pack and it's family based. This has a little bit of a found family element, so it's a little bit different as well. that they all come like together in this community. So
Okay. I like that. I like that. Um, oh, um, okay. Jenny, you're up next. So you said best friends X or siblings X for your book
Okay.
Rex.
Yeah.
And I know that I have read a lot of these, but I did not have
where's
a
the
shelf for these. And just so we're all clear, in the process of researching this, I was yelled at 3 different times because why are you doing this? I have to add a new shelf. So, thanks, Jenny. I had to add a new
You're
shelf.
welcome.
So, what is it about best friends X or siblings X that you struggle with?
I think it's just the awkwardness. Like, I can't imagine like dealing with that in real life, either as like the ex or the brother or the sister or like any party involved. Like, oh, it would just be awkward.
Okay, and real quick, did you read From the Embers by Ali Martinez?
Yeah, and it was awkward.
It was so freaking good.
It is good, but it was awkward.
So, are you like one of those people that situational awkwardness, like you struggle with, like you feel that awkwardness?
Yes, like I feel the other people in the room that are like
So,
not
is this why
comfortable.
you and the girl child are such good friends?
Yes.
She cannot watch movies that are over the top awkward because she it just
Because
feels
you,
it.
yes, you feel the anxiety of the person on the screen and it is making you sick. Yes.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Carolina, do you have an best
I have
friend's
one.
ex or
I
sibling?
have one,
Okay,
and I'm happy to go first because I
go
didn't want
first.
Becky to take it from. Always Her Love by Melissa Foster.
I didn't even have
Uh,
that one on my list.
Yes.
okay. It's part of the Steals at Silver Island series, book 4. Um, she is Tara is the younger sister to he's a single father, and I'm blanking on his name right now. Um,
Levi.
is it Levi?
Yeah. Levi and
Um,
Tara, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Levi and Tara. I wanted to say that, but for some reason I was hesitant to. Levi is a single dad. He has a daughter who is 10-ish. Don't quote me on that. Um, and had it with Tara's older sister. And so Tara
Even
and her
had
sister had an age gap. Yeah, so there's like this there's this
so like she's her
extra.
aunt.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Oh.
she's helped with the little girl.
And she's helping, like she's come through, like over for the summer to help like take care of her too. And Tara and the daughter have a really good relationship. So it's really good. There's a lot of like
It
forbidden
was a
elements.
top read for me last year.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But it's not like there's a lot of explanation on stuff and like emotional unpacking, but not in a creepy, awkward like way.
Okay, so my recommendation is I Wish You Were Mine by Lauren Lane. This is available in Libby for us, Jenny, and also in Hoopla for audio. Our hero is Jackson Burke, and he was married and a professional football player. He's now retired and is got a job as the fitness columnist at the Oxford magazine. So this is book 2 in the Oxford series, which is there's like lipstick and stilettos. We talked about it last
Okay,
week.
yes.
So this
Because
is
I was
book
like,
2
that
in this
sounded
series.
interesting. Okay.
This is book 2 in the Oxford. Lindsay and I did a review on book 1 in the series. So he's divorced now because when he lost his football contract because of a car accident and had to retire, his ex-wife was all about like the pomp and the circumstance. So
Right.
they're now divorced. She sends her little sister to New York to help pave the way for them to get back together, like to feel him out.
Oh. Oh.
So Molly is the younger sister, and Molly has always had a big crush on Jackson, and she quickly forgets that she needs to be loyal to her sister. But I mean, it's really a great story. I love this series, and if you guys have not read the Oxford series, I cannot recommend it enough. Like it's phenomenal. So there, that is my rec for that one. Also, Dear Enemy by Kristen Callahan is also has a, and that's in KU. So, um, okay, Carolina, you next asked for books with sports car
So
racing.
don't we have you?
Oh yeah, me. I forgot about me. Blue Collar. Okay, here's my deal with Blue Collar, guys. It's not that I don't love them, but as somebody who has very firmly been brought up middle class in a manufacturing community, um, I have for years seen families struggle financially, being blue collar families. And I struggle sometimes because I don't feel like we write that into romances. So it's that realism that's like, I know that there are blue collar families that do very well. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just sometimes it's like the realisticness of it is like life is hard and now you're doing a very physical job. So those are some of my struggles with blue collar, but I don't read a lot of them. 9 out of 10 times I'm going to pick up The Billionaire just because, like, I get there's not going to be any talk about money.
Yeah.
So, Carolina, what do you got for blue collar?
My first one is Tears of Joy by Lauren Grace, and it's Tears, Tiers, like cake tears.
Okay.
Um, it's, I'm gonna warn you, super emotional.
Okay.
Like I bawled like a baby multiple times during this book. Um, Lost my shit in the middle of the night as I'm reading at 3 a.m. Like this book. It starts in England. She loses her husband to cancer, and one of their dreams was for her to open a bakery. She decides to do it and goes to Canada to do it. She buys a place, but it needs a lot of work. So her hero is the grumpy contractor, construction worker.
Ooh. Okay. Jenny, what do you got for blue collar?
I was really surprised you hadn't read this. Better Letter Than Never.
Okay, I
I don't
have
know.
it, but you all like did it, and I was like, never mind.
You will really like it though. I mean, if anything, like there's drag queens.
I
Okay.
mean, we all know I love a
Like,
good drag queen, so
and they're drag queens in Tennessee. So
extra.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes.
Does anyone have any other blue collar they absolutely need to talk about?
Have
Um,
you
Go ahead, Jenny.
have you read Mechanic with Benefits by Becky Miller?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. That definitely like pops early and pops a lot. It's not like super plot heavy, but fake relationship,
I like
road
those.
tripping.
Also, are any of Mickey's books plot
No.
heavy?
I mean
I love him, but what do you got, Carolina?
I also like the Fighting Fire series by Lauren Blakely. Um, so they are all firefighters.
Okay.
But one of the things I liked about the series is that it definitely gets into the worries and concerns of being a spouse or partner of a firefighter. And one of the heroines, her father was a firefighter, so she deals with that as well. Um, so yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now we are going on to Carolina's next trope subgenre, and she wanted sports car racing book recs.
I've not read a car racing one, and I've recently just gotten into, yes, I'm late to the party, the Formula One series on Netflix. So I could use some rocks.
I've never read that or watched that series on Netflix.
Oh yeah, they're on like season 4 or 5 now.
That. Okay.
And it's I watch it in spurts. Like I'll watch like season 1, take a break, watch something else, and now I'm on season 2.
Okay.
It's a lot of money.
Little known fact, I was a huge NASCAR fan when I was a kid. Like huge, like knew like all the drivers, all their numbers, like all the like
I feel like that's a
penalties
very Ohio thing though.
right? Like we don't have anything else to do.
Here's the funny thing though, like because I am based in Florida and we do have NASCAR with Daytona and all of that, and I have been to a race. And I was like, okay, fine. Like it's neat and you go to the fence and you feel the cars racing, but like it just wasn't my thing. Watching this Formula One and the tracks are different and the way they like, I get why people are now mad about Formula One racing versus
running in circles.
Like, I'm like, why?
Well, I spent on the 4th of July, Michael had up on YouTube the Pikes Peak race.
Oh, yes.
And it's like all these different cars that are racing this super crazy curvy road up Pikes Peak. Like they close down the road and there's still like snow on the ground. It's bonkers. Anyway, Jenny, do you have a race car?
I don't personally have a race car, but I drive a minivan.
This is good to know. Thank you.
My first thought was like whenever someone asks for like a racing romance wreck is the Gear Shark series by Cambriana Herbert. Like there are 7 books in the series, but I recommended book 3 because that's the only one that's a standalone. And it's Laura Haven and Joey. And Joey, they're both car racers, but Joey is the daughter of like the commissioner type person. And they're doing like streetcar racing.
Okay. So One Sweet Side, or I think it's supposed to be One Sweet Ride by J.C. Burton. He is it might be NASCAR, but I want to say Formula One. But he's also the son of a senator. And the heroine is a PR person that is sent to help fix his image more in line with his father's family values for his upcoming presidential campaign.
I love a good PR fixer.
Yeah. So, and this is it. And it talks about like going from race to race in the camper and, feeling the dirt and the grime and stuff like that. It's really well done. And it's J.C. Burton has this whole series she does where like each book's a different sport. And this one's really good. And it's in the middle of the series, but it can be read as a standalone. Now, I had one, it's not really race cars, but it made me think of Gone in 60 Seconds, if you liked that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Accelerate by Tracy Wolff. He's a carjacker that carjacks a car with a starlet and takes her on a ride like a movie star. So, and it's spicy. Tracy Wolff writes spicy. So there's that one. Okay, we are now on to our last, which is Jenny's anti-relationship or sworn off relationships, which is one of the ones I got yelled at about from Amanda.
I saw.
She's like, I don't have that shelf. I'm like, sorry.
I know, I didn't have the shelf either. And I was like, damn it. Like I'm having to go through my list.
So, what don't you like about...
I'm just always like, how can you like completely, I guess maybe because I've never been in that area of my life, or maybe because I was I was never planning on getting married and now I'm married with 4 kids. So I'm just like, how can you completely rule it out? You don't know.
Caroline, you want to go first?
Sure. So funny enough, my list are all the heroines are anti-relationship
Ooh,
on my list.
that is interesting.
And there's I mean I can give you all 4 books, but I have 4 books on my list and they're all the woman is or heroine is anti-relationship. So oh, what to pick? What to pick? Okay, so one of most recent reads, 'cause it's just so damn good. Something Unexpected by V. Keelan.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And he's an
Emotional.
alpha hole. Jeez, Carolina. Cheese and rice.
I know. Yeah, but there's other ones that I do not like. So
Yeah.
come on now.
Yeah, but that book, yeah, she's
Yeah.
doesn't want a relationship.
Nope. Does not want it. Draws lots of lines in the sand. Then I'm gonna go on with another one. Dominic by Sawyer Bennett.
Yeah, and he pursues his heroine,
He pursues her hard.
and she wants nothing to do with him.
She
Oh,
wants the one night stand.
Right, yeah.
That's all she wants. She doesn't want the so it's part of her Arizona Vengeance hockey series, book 4 or 5 or something. He's the owner of the team, which I always like when we get like the owner of the team in there.
Yeah.
And she's the sister to one of the players.
Yeah. It's good. It is very good. Okay, so Strictly Pleasure by Carrie Elks is one where they're both kind of anti-relationship. Neither one, but it slowly she's really more entrenched with I don't want to be committed to anything, and then she gets mad when she thinks he's dating someone.
cool.
Um, but you know how I feel about Carrie Elks, so
Yes.
I mean, just read the books, right? 'Cause- but this is book 2 in her Salinger Brothers series.
Is this the one where she's the
She's the weather girl.
meteorologist?
Yeah.
Oh, that one's so good.
Oh,
Oh, that
Yeah.
one's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
She
yeah.
auctions off a daily weather report, specific,
Mhm.
like a customized weather report specifically for you. And she calls you each day and he buys it. And so he
oh,
asks her, like, what's the weather going to be this evening? Should I get a table outside or inside at this restaurant? And then he makes her
intriguing.
talk to his date, but I won't tell you who his date is.
So good.
It's so good. But he pursues and basically, yeah, just Jenny, it's totally your gig. It is totally your gig.
And that one's like fun and light. Like Something Unexpected is deeply emotional. I think Dominic's somewhere in between. And then like Strictly Pleasure is just like fun.
Yeah.
Hmm, good
Yeah.
balance.
Okay, so next up for me is location outside the US. So I don't know what it is. Sometimes when the book takes place outside of a US location, I don't struggle in Canada either. But like I tried a couple of books by like Jade West that were UK based, but I have zero issue with it in historical romance. So I don't know. Anyway, Carolina, what do you got for outside the US?
Um, I'm gonna start with the Dangerous Dom series by Jane Henry. It's all in Ireland.
Okay.
So there it's like super mafia light. Like it's probably the only mafia series that I've read. Irish mafia, but it's all in Ireland and um within that.
Okay.
And then I would say um Force of Forever by Eve Casey. I don't remember if you read that one or not. It's the prequel to her
I
series.
did read that one.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So then not that. Then I would say um Take Me Away by Kelly Elliott. Then it doesn't all stay in it starts in Paris and you get a little of that,
Okay.
but then it moves. That one's emotional. It's like a soulmate's second chance.
Faded to love kind of vibes.
Yeah, but it's not second chance in the way that you think.
Okay. Okay. Um, Jenny, what do you got?
Um, I feel like people in the community will come after me if I don't recommend this. So, the Rugby series by Penny Reed and L.H. Causeway.
Yeah.
I would recommend the first book for you, The Hooker and the Hermit.
I actually have
It's
read those. They're just not on my Goodreads because I read them when the library, like before I
oh,
Goodreads. Yeah. No, but those are great books.
and so okay,
Okay.
I have another one.
Okay, what do you got?
It's mistyped, like
E?
TYPED, like you
Okay.
type um and that's the Miss series book 2, I believe, by Aubrey Bonart, and it's Boss Assistant, but it takes place mostly in Dubai,
Oh,
Hmm.
I don't know that I've read a book that takes place there.
right?
Okay. Okay, I'm in for that. Okay, our very last subgenre for Carolina is suspense.
I've just not read a lot of it, and there's a lot out there.
There is a lot. It can be overwhelming, and there's so many subsets of suspense.
Yep.
Um, so I would be remiss if I didn't just recommend that you read The Men of Haven by Rena Morgan. Like, I've been trying to get everybody to read this series for 3 years now.
I was like, from the start.
And the other series I will recommend is the KGI series by Maya Banks. It has a little bit of everything. They're super spicy. It does play with a little bit of telepathy. So kind of there is some CIA, but and it has a little bit of the military feel because they're contractors for the US government, but there also is some like former veterans and CIA, but it doesn't feel like it's not over the top military, so it doesn't feel like fetish military.
Hmm.
So KGI and then by Maya Banks and Men of Haven by Rena Morgan. Seriously, everybody, could you all just read these books so I can stop recommending them all the time? Anyway, Jenny, what do you got?
Cybersecurity System series by April White, which is in the Smarty Pants romance universe. She has 3 books. Um, you could read any of them. And usually like the heroine and the hero are like in a conflict, but also dealing with some kind of other outside issue that is got some urgency. And then I also have Starlet by Sophie Lark. It's set in 1940s Hollywood. It's not quite historical, but like back. Um, and the heroine is investigating her twin sister's murder,
Okay.
who was a Hollywood starlet.
So those are our tropes that we don't like that, or not that we don't like. Those are the tropes that we are trying to figure out where we fit into them, what we like, what works, what doesn't work. So we are going to take these lists of books and we're going to pick and choose some of them over the course of the next couple months and read them. It will probably be after the first of the year that we'll come back together because, reading schedules and life and work and stuff like that. But we will check in and feel free to check in with us on social media. Um, any of the three of us and say, hey, did you pick that book up? What did you think? Or just make sure you are following all of us on Instagram or Goodreads. And I'll link all of that in our On the Shelf show notes.
Or if you have recommendations on where we should start, because we just got a ton of book recs.
Yeah.
So if there's some that on this list that we gave that you're super passionate about, let us know.
Yep, we want to know that. Okay, so before we go into our thing, I want to say here, author Lucy Eden is organizing a fundraiser to help victims of the Maui wildfires. So lots of Romance Landia authors and publishers are coming together. The money they're raising is going to go to there's the Maui Emergency Fund and the food bank fund, but I will link it all on our website in our On the Shelf show notes. This runs until the 21st. So this episode drops on the 20th. You would have one more day to potentially bid on some of those auction items. So but you can find details on Lucy's social media, but also I'll link all the places on our website. Um, so, okay, there's that. But now it's that time, you guys. Guess what time it is? It's book
Look,
of
Oh,
the
ah,
week. It's book of the week
felt so
time.
bad.
right.
I mean, it would sound great if we had an echo.
I tried to do the echo.
What we wouldn't give for an echo. Okay, so it's book of the week time. Jenny, what's your book of the week? I hope that your book of the week is the one I think it is because I
was
didn't
like,
recommend it today.
Pray Tell by Amanda Richardson. Like,
Right.
which again, I would not, if I had read the blurb, I would not have picked this book up ever. But now I'm excited for the other books.
Yeah.
And if you did read this book and you did not flip back to the cover and then read forward, go back and read the poem at the beginning of the book.
Yeah. And Carolina, because you were such a big fan of the Sin Club, you need to read this book. Or Club Sin.
All right.
You need to read this book.
Okay.
It's that good. Carolina, what's your book of the week?
My book of the week is a series because I just binged it. And I was at the Rock and Romance Readers event in Knoxville. So I got to meet the author Samantha Lind. And so I binge read her Indianapolis Lightning series. It's 4 books, baseball.
They're low angst. They're low angst.
She talks about there's no third act breakup. And she does talk about how, like, when we were chatting, she was like, yeah, I mean, not all relationships have that third act breakup, mine didn't. And I want my readers to have this like low angst, enjoyable read.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the series. There's, with baseball, there's like that family, the baseball family to it. So
she also will be at the HEA Readers event in Indianapolis in November.
Yep.
So there is that. Okay, my book of the week is Dangerous King by Sienna Snow. This is book 1 in her King of the Streets series. We talked to Sienna Snow in our very first year of readathon. And I am deep diving into her backlist with Amanda, and I'm obsessed. Her books are spicy, you guys, but they also have really great Asian Island Pacificer rep, but also there's a mix of Caribbean and Indian, like Asian Indians that went to the Caribbean, to like Trinidad and stuff like that. And yeah, they're just really great. And there's whiskey involved and sex clubs, and they're really good. I can't recommend them enough. If you haven't read Sienna Snow, you guys should absolutely be picking these up. Okay, Patreon update. Welcome to new Patreon member Laura. We are super excited to have you here with us. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Swag Pack sponsoring authors for August are authors Kennedy L. Mitchell and Melissa Foster. And I wanted to recommend a couple of books that we think you should read if you've never read these authors before. Melissa Foster, Wild Island Love is out now. That is her book that she released here this month of August. It's book 5 in the Steals at Silver Island. It is available wide, so you can find it at any bookish retailer.
And can be read as a standalone.
And it can absolutely be read as a standalone. It is a great place to start with her. If you are looking for a KU read, might I suggest Maybe We Will? It is also on Silver Island and is a read and listen.
Mm-hmm.
So
that whole series it's a 3-book series.
Yeah, it's sisters. It's really great.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kennedy L. Mitchell, her new release is coming out on August the 25th. Mine to Share. It is part of her Protection series. Book 1 in this series is called Mine to Protect. Mine to Share is a throuple. And is book 8 in this series. But I have been told you can read these standalones. Mind to Protect is out now, and this whole series is available in Kindle Unlimited by Kennedy. So swag packs go out to Fancy Drink, Cold Brew, and Queen Bee tier, and we still have fun buzzing about romance exclusive stickers, mood reading cards, and other fun things. These are mailed monthly, usually around the 5th of the month, sometimes a little later. We do ship these international. There is no wait time on this perk. It kicks in as soon as you join. Also, I'm getting ready to send out our 4th quarter reading journals, and those go out to the Cold Brew and Queen Bee tiers. So if you would like to have a custom Buzzing About Romance reading journal, you can get that by joining our Cold Brew or Queen Bee tier. Because of our amazing Patreons, we are able to bring you 3 episodes a week, and we are still working on our goal of 75 members so we can plan our first ever book retreat. As the time of recording, we are up to 54 members.
Woo woo.
So exciting. All members of Patreon get exclusive episodes like Buzzing After Dark and Should You Read It? And then everybody gets invited to Buzzing Book Club. And September's Buzzing Book Club is author Melanie Moreland, and we're reading one of the Shifting Gears, which is in her restoration series. So we read book 1. I think now we're doing book 2.
Yes.
I just thought everybody votes very carefully. And starting in the 1st of September, we will pick what we're reading in October. So lots of fun stuff. And you can find a list of events at bookcaseandcoffee.com/events, including happy hours, IG lives, and of course, book clubs. And, I just want to thank everyone for joining our Patreon. We've had some new patrons, kind of like a little burst, and it's really awesome. Thank you so much, you guys, for supporting this, because we couldn't do it without them. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys.
It's been fun.
Yes.
I got a lot of reading to do.
Yeah, we all do, don't we? Until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.